Hello everyone, welcome to the Pachehra Talks channel. And today we are going to discuss or explore Azure Cache for Redis, which is the second video in designing caching solution of AZ-305. Azure Cache for Redis. It provides all the caching functionality that we talked about in the previous video, like in-memory data store based on the Redis software. It improves the performance and scalability of an application that uses backend data stores heavily. It also able to process large volumes of application requests by keeping frequently accessed data in the server memory, which can be returned to and read from quickly. We already discussed all these things in detail in the previous video, where we focused on the caching part. In this video, we are going to talk about the service which will help us to achieve those caching design patterns. So if we need to go and dig a little bit more about Azure Cache for Redis, so let's see what all things it offers along with the basic caching functionality, of course. So I have filtered out few points from documentation to put it here, and let's go one by one. So Azure Cache for Redis offers both OSS Redis, which is open source, and Enterprise, which is a commercial product from Redis Inc. We can have both when we go or choose or you go for Azure Cache for Redis. It provides secure and dedicated Redis server instances and full Redis API compatibility. These are the features of Azure Cache for Redis. Okay, so let me remove this. This doesn't look nice. Okay. Now, the third point is Azure Cache for Redis can be used as a distributed data or content cache, a session store, a message broker, and more. And these things we have seen when we talked about the mechanism of caching, where we can utilize caching to the various layers of an application. The service is operated by Microsoft. We all know that. That's why it's Azure Cache for Redis. But the point is, this is hosted on Azure, and you can use it, this service, to any application within or outside of Azure. That is the important point that I want to highlight here. And the interesting thing is it can be deployed as a standalone, or it can be deployed along with the Azure database services. Yes, along with Azure database services such as Azure SQL or Cosmos DB. So this is all about high overview, 10,000 feet view to know what is Azure Cache for Redis, what it is. And let's go ahead and check in what all pricing tiers or service tiers it is available for us. And we'll also talk about what is there on those service tiers, as we already know, because we've been following and learning Azure from quite a while. So we know these are the different tiers, and as the tier increases from basic to standard to premium, the features increases. The same concept will apply here, but we should know what is there on basic, what is there on standard. So let's go one by one. Basic service tier has no SLA. Just like in basic of app service, there is no SLA, but it's ideal for development or testing or non-critical workloads. If we talk about standard, in this tier, Redis is running on 2 VMs in a replicated configuration for high availability. So there must be some SLA. If we talk about premium, it offers higher throughput, lower latency, better availability than standard and basic and other features. Premium caches are deployed on more powerful VMs compared to the VMs of standard. So it's going in this direction. Better standard is better than basic, premium is better than standard as per the VM, as per the availability, as per the throughput, latency, and other features. Enterprise is better than premium in some regards, like it supports Redis modules, including Redis Search, Redis Bloom, Redis JSON, and Redis time series. Also, it offers even higher availability than the premium tier. And finally, Enterprise Flash, which is a cost-effective large cache. This tier extends Redis data storage to non-volatile memory, which is cheaper than RAM on a VM. It is more like random access memory. It reduces the overall per GB memory cost, but it's on a large scale. So these are the pricing tier that we need to choose as per our requirement, as per our need. And you already have the idea. Basic, we can opt for development, testing, and non-critical workloads. And standard, we can go for general workloads. Premium, if we need something more. Or let's go to the next slide and explore a little more, where I have some tips to choose the correct service tier. The very first thing is look for the memory, because basic and standard tier offers from 250 MB to 53 gigs, but the premium goes from 6 gigs to 1.2 TB. However, tiers can go from 12 gigs to 14 TB. To create a premium tier cache larger than 120 gigs, you can use Redis OSS clustering. If we talk about performance, caches in the premium and enterprise tiers are deployed on hardware that has faster processors, giving better performance compared to the basic or standard tier. Network performance is another criteria that can help you to choose one of the service tier. If you have a workload that require high throughput, the premium or enterprise tier offers more bandwidth compared to basic and standard. Also, within each tier, large size caches have more bandwidth because of the underlying VM that hosts the cache. Maximum number of client connections could be a very good criteria to choose the service tier. Again, premium and enterprise tiers offers the maximum numbers of clients that can connect to Redis, offering higher number of connections for larger sized cache. Clustering increases the total amount of network bandwidth available for the clustered cache. These all are the features coming from the premium and enterprise. Now, there is one more. There could be many more, but I have selected few to discuss on this particular video, and these are the main ones, to be honest. Data persistence. Again, premium and enterprise tiers allow you to persist the cache data to an Azure storage account and a managed disk, respectively. Underlying infrastructure issues might result in potential data loss. Microsoft recommend using the Redis data persistence feature in these tiers to increase resiliency against data loss. So the point is what we talked about in the previous slide. As we go with the higher pricing service tier, we would have more features, more availability, more higher throughput, more memory to utilize, more data connections, and as per our need, we can choose the right service tier. Now let's check quickly when to use Azure Cache for Redis. All right, so we have 3 scenarios. However, there could be more, but we picked the 3, which are very common to understand. Data cache. Well, We all know databases are often too large to load directly into a cache, right? And it's common to use the cache side pattern to load data into the cache only as needed. When the system makes changes to the data, the system can also update the cache, which is then distributed to other clients. Additionally, the system can set an expiration date or time on data, or use an eviction policy to trigger data updates into the cache. We could also utilize in content cache situation, because we know many web pages are generated from templates using static content like videos, images, headers, and these static items shouldn't change often. Otherwise, it would become dynamic, right? It would have some time that it could persist the data in the cache. And using in-memory cache provides quick access to static content compared to backend data stores. This pattern reduces processing time and server load, allowing web servers to be more responsive. It can allow you to reduce the number of servers needed to handle loads. Uh, Azure Cache for Redis provides the Redis output cache provider to support this pattern with ASP.NET. The final scenario that we have here to use Redis cache for Azure is session store. This pattern is commonly used with shopping cart and other user history data that a web application might associate with user cookies. Associate with user cookies. Storing too much in a cookie can have a negative impact on performance as the cookie size grows and is passed and validated with every request. So a typical solution is use the cookie as key to query the data in the database, using as in-memory cache like Azure Cache for Redis to associate information with a user is much faster than interacting with a full relational database. Now let's quickly check a reference architecture where we are utilizing Azure Redis for Azure Cache for Redis right here. So I hope you could see this design. It's very simple. There's a browser request going to web apps, and they're trying to search in the cache. If they find it here, well and good. If not, they'll go and get it from the database and put it here. If it is not there, if it is there, it will retrieve it from here. Same goes from the if you're accessing through the mobile devices. And here I have write down the data flow, and it's talk about the same thing, what I'm saying. So that's how we can utilize it. And this is the, if I go back, this is the data cache. Okay, so application needs to retrieve data. It will first search to see if it exists in Azure Cache. As I said, if it is there, it's well and good. If not, it will get through the data and put it here so that other requests can get help from here. So this is the reference data here. This is the reference architecture for data cache, and that's all about this video, and I hope it was interesting and you liked it. Thank you. Please like, share, and subscribe, and comment for any queries and feedback. Thank you and take care. Let's meet in another video.